So what if you could take a single luxury resort in Portugal and, get this, turn it into the beating heart of a global movement? I'm not talking about just a nice place to visit. I mean, what if it could be the central engine for an entirely new way of life? It's a pretty wild idea, so let's dig in.
Okay, right off the bat, you're looking at something that looks pretty complex. And you might notice some of the text is in Portuguese. That's because we're peeking behind the curtain at the actual internal blueprints. This isn't just some diagram. It's the operational core of the entire project. Think of it as the central nervous system, a physical hub where these big ideas about a new kind of peace economy actually become real. It's where everything, from growing food to managing assets, all comes together. And this place, this hub, has a name. The Delicious and Nutritious Nexus. But let's be clear, this is so much more than just a fancy ecotourism spot. You should really think of it as a living laboratory, a proving ground for what they call the Farm-to-Table Blue Zone Challenge. Now, blue zones, if you don't know, are these incredible places where people live way longer, healthier lives. And this project? Well, it's trying to literally engineer one of these zones from the ground up. It's a place where people don't just visit, they actually help build a whole new system of abundance.
So that's the big question, right? How do you actually turn a tourist into a world builder? Well, there's a roadmap for that. We're going to walk through this journey, starting with the resort's mission, then moving through 3 really distinct phases of training, and finally, we'll see how an ordinary guest can become a true architect of this new world. Let's get into it.
It really all begins with this core mission. The whole ecosystem is powered by this really well-structured 3-phase leadership journey. It's designed to take pretty much anyone who walks through the door from being just a curious visitor to becoming someone who can actually help build this thing.
So let's break down that journey. It all starts with discovery. This is where you figure out your unique place in the system. From there, you move into immersion. This is where you get your hands dirty, connecting all the big ideas to the real world. And finally, you have execution. That's where you truly master the whole operation and help bring this incredible global vision to life.
All right, let's talk about phase 1. You can think of this as the ultimate onboarding experience. It's totally built on this idea that everyone, and I mean everyone, has a talent, some kind of intrinsic value they can bring to the table. So the whole point here is to help you identify your natural strengths and find your ethical and operational center inside the project.
And how do they do that? They use something called the VEGAN framework. This is a really clever system for figuring out where you fit best across 5 key roles. Voice is for the communicators, Earth is for the people connected to the biological systems, and Guardians are the ones who handle security and operations. Network is all about the tech architecture. But the one that I think is the most interesting is Algonquin, which represents the indigenous wisdom and the long-term thinking that guides the whole project. It's all about aligning your natural talent with a much deeper purpose.
And this is the crucial part. This entire structure isn't just about being efficient or productive. No, it's all anchored in a really deep core ethical philosophy. Every single action, every role within that VEGN framework is guided by these 4 principles: forgiveness, compassion, hope, and trust. This is really the soul of the entire system.
Okay, let's move on to phase 2 and see how this all builds. This is the blue zone immersion. So once you've identified your role, it's time to ground that knowledge in the soil, literally. This is the bridge between all that theory and hands-on execution. It's where leaders in training get to learn the real-world realities of sustainable agriculture and whole food plant-based nutrition.
And this quote right here really gets to the why behind it all. The resort isn't just a school, it's a completely immersive experience. The goal is for people to physically feel what a peace economy and an abundance mentality are actually like. It's one thing to read about it, but this is about shifting your entire perspective by actually living inside this new reality.
And during this immersion phase, participants get to work with some absolutely incredible technology. What we're looking at here is a blueprint, this one's in Hebrew, for what they call the Sky Acres vertical aeroponic towers. Basically, aeroponics is a way to grow plants in the air with just mist, no soil at all. It's part of a bigger system called ecopishta, and it allows for this incredibly high-density, sustainable food production. This right here is a massive piece of the puzzle for creating that self-sustaining model of abundance.
And this slide, wow, it gives us the whole picture. You can see Avia and Judy there, the heads of industry and production, overseeing it all. If you look at that diagram in the middle, you can see the entire farm-to-product pipeline. It shows you the seamless flow from the eco-pishta harvesting system on the left, all the way to the assembly line that creates the final product, this super nutrient-dense food bar called the Barness Miracle Bar on the right. And participants get to immerse themselves in this whole cycle, from start to finish.
And that, of course, brings us to the final test. Phase 3, the Eden's Kitchen Challenge. This is the crucible, right? It's the culmination of the entire journey. You've discovered your role, you've mastered the practical skills, and now you have to execute a real-world mission to prove that you're ready to help scale this vision.
And the stakes, they could not be higher. This final phase is tied directly to this number, 2 million. That's the target for daily meals that the larger global system wants to produce and donate. The challenge itself is built around this incredible buy one, give one engine, where every product sold funds a meal for someone who needs it. So, succeeding here means you've mastered that engine and you're ready to help push this massive world-changing goal into reality.
So, what does success actually look like on the ground? Well, this 90-day tactical roadmap, again from their internal Portuguese docs, gives us some really concrete goals. By day 90, the team has to have packed 1,000 of those miracle bars. But even more importantly, they have to certify 12 new guardians. These are graduates who are now ready to go out and manage new sanctuaries themselves. It's a super clear, totally measurable outcome.
Okay, now let's zoom out for a second. This entire intense journey, all centralized at this one resort in Portugal, is what powers the vegan flywheel. Each person who finishes the program doesn't just leave with a new set of skills. They become a new engine for the whole global ecosystem. They leave as an architect, ready to build.
And this visual just perfectly sums up that whole progression. They call it the gamification of abundance, which is so cool. You can see this clear, step-by-step path, from a level 1 passive observer down at the bottom left, moving all the way up to a level 4 architect at the top right, someone who's actually invited to partner on implementing massive new strategies. It just goes to show how every single visitor has a clear path to becoming a co-creator.
So I think the biggest takeaway here is how this model can transform a single physical place into a blueprint for systemic change that can be copied anywhere. It's an incredibly compelling vision, and it leaves us with this one big question to think about. If a single resort can be the engine for a brand new economy, just imagine what could be built next.